Officials telling Fox News the U.S. is closer to resuming Iranian combat operations than it was just 24 hours ago. This after Tehran reportedly fired on U.S. vessels in the Strait of Hormuz and launched more than a dozen missiles and drones at the UAE oil facilities. There was injuries and there was damage. President Trump telling Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst Iran will, quote, be blown off the face of the earth if it intervenes in Project Freedom. U.S. Central Command says it destroyed 6 Iranian boats targeting civilian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. 2 U.S. flagships also successfully passing through the strait, marking an early sign that shipping traffic is resuming in the critical waterway. Joining me now is South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry. Congressman, I want to get your reaction to this because inevitably further military operations in Iran is going to bring up more debate about the War Powers Act.
Well, it could. I think what you're seeing right now is Iran test this administration. I think they're much like a petulant child right now that I think realizes maybe internally that the writing is on the wall, but they're trying in every which way to delay settlement, resolution of this conflict. They're trying to wait out the president, but this president obviously in things in the past has been very direct, been very clear. But for us, the administration has indicated that this conflict they viewed, based on the resolution with Iran, is largely ended. Now, obviously, we have these incursions that are happening now with the Iranian people. The administration, the U.S. military is responding, taking out 6 small vessels yesterday. So you're hopefully you don't continue to see this, but you're obviously seeing Iran test the resolve of the United States and its willingness to make sure that this is an area of peace and commerce that we desperately need.
Yeah, well, certainly we're going to be following the developments. We're going to get an update actually at the top of the hour from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and General Kane. So we'll see what new information we glean from that briefing. We're going to take some of it live. I want to ask you about what's happening with Spirit, because a $500 billion proposed bailout of Spirit, obviously it fell through, and the airline shut down over the weekend. Several alternate airlines are offering deals to support travelers that were supposed to fly Spirit, at least in the near future. The collapse expected to cause an increase in ticket prices across the board. Myrtle Beach Airport issued a travel advisory following the news that broke. Spirit Airlines accounted for almost a quarter of daily flights there. It was the leading airline for travelers last year. So in your state of South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Columbia, and again, Myrtle Beach, there was about, I think, 50 routes that were coming out of there. I want to get your reaction to this and how difficult this is on your constituents.
Well, it's very difficult. Myrtle Beach International has seen record growth year after year. In fact, it's the fastest growing airport in South Carolina, and there's a reason for that. People want to come here for our weather, for certainly a great vacation with their family, and so this is a big hit, obviously, to the area, but really, I think, to the employees of Spirit. I mean, this started multiple years ago, and when there was an actual lifeline that Spirit could have taken advantage of with the merger with JetBlue, Joe Biden and his allies completely shut it down, saying that it would lead to overconsolidation, higher prices, and less competition. But guess what? Now we're in that same boat because people don't have multiple options. Spirit billed itself as a low-cost carrier. It really did a number of having low costs across the board for their flyers. And now there's less competition. There's less incentive for the other guys to keep their prices low in competition with Spirit. Now we have no Spirit Airlines, and certainly areas like Myrtle Beach that I represent are now scrambling to figure out how we're going to continue to get people to our sunny shores in South Carolina for their summer vacation.
Again, yeah, you're right. The summer, we're going right into the summer travel season, and Myrtle Beach is a big piece of that. And it was great city, by the way. I filmed my American Dream Home program there, and it was wonderful. I do want to move on to, it's gorgeous. Let's talk about this because northeastern American cities are getting way too expensive for young workers. So we found this new survey that shows the price of everything is driving them to go to southern states. The New York, New Jersey metro area saw the largest loss of residents in the country, losing more than 1.2 million between April of 2020 to July of last year. But North and South Carolina's metro areas are seeing this big increase of state residents. And at that same time, Congressman, I want to get your take on this because, as we move into the midterms, affordability over and over is coming up as a major issue for the American voter. Now, Obviously, they're doing something in North and South Carolina they're not doing in the Northeast when it comes to affordability. But how do you message that as a party in particular? How do you take the strengths of what you're seeing in your state, your district, get your colleagues on board to message that? Because, you know, people like Karl Rove are saying that unless the Republicans go on the offensive, you're going to have a big loss in November.
Well, here's what I would say. If you look at 50 states, obviously, some controlled by Republicans, some controlled by Democrats. The ones controlled by Democrats, like the ones you mentioned in the Northeast, have incredibly high rent prices, have incredibly high home prices. There's a general feeling, a drop, a 3-year low in the Boston area, as an example, in optimism for the future by these young entrepreneurs, by these young workers, and they're moving south, as you said. And why is that? It's because red states like South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, places like this, they have a tax climate that is favorable. They have certainly great weather. They have much more affordable prices. And people really, I mean, I'm a millennial, and I remember people going to Northeast cities, that there was kind of a renaissance in big metropolitan areas, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. People are looking around going, what am I paying for? Higher prices, less optimism, less potential for growth as a young professional, certainly higher crime, and they're fleeing in record numbers. Not just young people, but really all people are fleeing these states and coming to places like South Carolina because it just makes more sense.
And I understand
so
that. But how does the party get on board with that message? Because there's some things right now that are not helping you. In particular, it's higher energy costs. It's the polling shows that the war in Iran is not popular with Republican voters, with MAGA voters. So how do you switch the conversation here and get that message out? All of you in your party.
Any party in opposition has to present a case that they can do it better. And right now, I don't think the Democrats have that. And under any circumstances, they're at their record low polling. And look at the results speak for themselves, including, again, in the Northeast, where they have the highest energy costs. And why is that? It's because their policies don't work. So people might not have great optimism right now. They might have great optimism. I don't know. But what I do know is that voters are looking very carefully at the opposition party. The Democrats are saying, can they present a better case? And resoundingly right now, the answer is no, because they haven't actually presented a case other than Trump is bad. That is not a winning strategy. And their policies that are in place right now in states like California and New York just aren't working for those voters.
Well, Congressman Russell Fry, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Cheryl.